last night, Blazers played the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was a game where you saw, again, another good effort accentuated by the lack of depth and answers by the Portland Trailblazers last night.
No, you're seeing more of what we saw in that period where we're like, hey, they're feisty, they're game, they're going to be competitive, and it's just, on what night will his shots fall just a little bit more to steal a win or two. And I mean, through 3+ quarters, they were outplaying the Timberwolves, which is kind of insane because Ant Edwards was absolutely unstoppable.
But game of runs, and it was just that, where you saw a lead balloon to 11, 16, and then it would shrink away, and the Blazers would whittle it away. And this is something that we've been talking about quite a bit lately, is that the Blazers have been playing far better basketball, especially since DeAndre Ayton got healthy again, and they exercised the demons that they were living through on that 2-week road trip where, I mean, that was... I'll even say it was embarrassing, some of the results that they had and the effort on that long extended road trip.
Oh, they were beat up and they were getting the crap kicked out of them. It was bad.
This team has not responded and answered with wins, but you can see that there has been growth by this team in this roster. And I am, you keep seeing it on social media, the comparisons, DeAndre Ayton to Hassan Whiteside's empty numbers, and they don't translate to wins. What we saw from DeAndre Ayton kept them in that game last night.
He was phenomenal last night. Hit his first 9 shots, 9 of 9. Karl Anthony Towns did not exist last night. He was 2 for 7 in foul trouble.
Playoff cat.
Oh, yeah. No, it was. It was playoff cat. Gobert and Ayton, go back and forth. Ayton outplayed him. I mean, he finishes the night leading the Blazers in scoring, 22 points on 12 shots, wildly efficient, 16 rebounds, gets a block. I thought defensively he was very good. I mean, Ant Edwards was just killing, but I thought that Ayton was particularly good in rim deterrence and altering shots and walling things off and switching, just incredibly solid stuff from him last night. And then the offense, he just had his jumper going, man. Like, he had a couple dunks, but the relationship he's now building with Scoot and Ant offensively, it was always kind of there with Ant because Ant's ability, his gravity, and the amount of space he creates.
Well, it's easier when you have a guy who's been in the league for a few years to play off of somebody.
Spacing, reading, all that kind of thing.
In relatively short order.
Yeah. But Scoot is starting to figure it out. His pacing and understanding what defenses are trying to do to him and understanding scouting reports and how to shift gears and create passing lanes. It's just like it's little intricacies that just come with playing time. And he found Ayton on a couple of different looks in the pick and roll where he just found some pocket passes and some wrap passes to DA at like 8 to 12 feet. And Ayton was just cooking that mid-range jumper because Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves, they play drop coverage. Gobert always drops basically to the rim, except for Anthony Simons has the ball. But Ayton exploits that. And so you saw him comfortably and willingly taking those shots while also gobbling up the rebounds. I mean, that Timberwolves team is massive. Their starting lineup, their front court, Jaden McDaniels, 6'10". Karl Anthony Towns, 7 foot. Rudy Gobert, 7'1".
Big dudes.
The Blazers out-rebounded the Timberwolves last night, both overall and tied them on the offensive glass.
In that, those are the signs that we're seeing, is that in the thing that is actually satisfying to me, and this is part of the rebuild, and this was preseason what we were talking about with this team, is that it's not about wins and losses, but are they still going out and competing every night? Are they still improving on a night-to-night basis? Mm-hmm. What we saw last night, depth and ability to have answers, especially scoring threats.
Yeah.
That is the biggest bugaboo that this Blazers team has, because you looked at it and you said, that's why DeAndre Ayton's, these aren't hollow points.
No.
They are the points where when they needed that third option in scoring, because it was Anthony Simons, 19 shots and 20 points.
Started off really well, and then he just went cold. Jeremy had a rough night. You need somebody else to turn to, and DeAndre Ayton answered. And like, you thought in the third quarter that game was just going to get away from them. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, they found a way to scrap. And
DeAndre Ayton's a huge reason for that. He is the reason.
He was the steadying hand last night offensively. There's no doubt about that. I was serious. It was a little funny from last night. Delano Banton, who's only been here for a little bit, already looks incredibly comfortable on both sides of the floor, more comfortable than I ever expected him to look. He adds a wrinkle to this team as a playmaking wing that I've been saying this is the thing that they need for years. And I'm not saying he's the answer for that, but you're kind of seeing what having a 6'8" guy with a handle and passing chops and rim pressure does. All of a sudden you start seeing these things open up that weren't there before because you have to account for him. But he finishes the night. What did he shoot? 4 of 8. He was 1 of 2 from 3, 7 of 10 from the free throw line. And it was funny. I heard him post game. He was kind of talking to himself, kind of talking to Jeremy Grant, whose locker is right next to him, and he was frustrated because he left some free throws out there. He missed a couple layups, and he's like, "Man, I missed this. I missed 3 free throws. I missed that 3." He's like, "I should have done this." Jeremy, who's sitting in the chair next to me as we're talking, looks at me and smiles. He goes, "Man, I went 5 for 17." He goes, "It's okay, man.
We go through it.
It's
we go through. I mean,
but it was just kind of a funny reminder of like where we are in this season and Banton just getting here. He's very clearly like trying to make an impression. He's being very aggressive no matter what he does, which I appreciate.
I'm here for Delano Banton, and I text you this in his first game, and you're like, how many have you had tonight? No, I am here for Delano Banton, black hole, shoot whatever.
Let me see
down,
what you got.
And the first night it was pretty bad because it was I don't even know
thrown
what it was.
together. It was entirely thrown together. They basically had 3 sets they could run.
His shots in the first game that
I think
he
was 4.
played,
I think he was 4 of 15.
4 of 15 for 16 points. Yeah. All right, it was 5 of 14, 12 points. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for 5 of 14, 12 points. Like, give me that guy because he's entertaining as all get out. He cleaned it up efficiency-wise from the field last night, but I just let the guy have his warts because he's entertaining.
I mean, 16, 3, and 5. Like, that's... Yeah,
he's entertaining as all get out. And that alley-oop that he threw to DeAndre,
oh my God.
My goodness, that was fun to watch.
He passed DeAndre Ayton open. That's the kind of thing is like I asked the coaching staff and I asked the front office about Banton and kind of like why target Banton? Because look, they gave up a top 55 protected pick. It's nothing. It's a transaction that will never amount to anything. It is the equivalent of a used ball rack. Like it's nothing.
Just entertain me. I want all the entertainment out of it.
And the one thing that everyone has said, is he has innate feel. He does. Like you watch him drive and like he knows when to drive. He knows when to cut. He knows when to kind of like flip a pass over. Like he knows that he had. What was crazy is in the end of the first quarter, him and Scoot Henderson, or excuse me, the end of the second quarter, going into the half, he's got Scoot Henderson on the floor and the clock's, I want to say like 37, 38 seconds. I think it was a 2 for 1. No, it was the other way around because they had already gotten one. Anyways, Scoot Henderson comes to get the ball. Ben looks him off, waves him away. Like, no, I got this. And I'm like, yo, really? And Scoot kind of was like,
absurd amount of confidence.
That's what I mean. But like, Scoot's like, all right, bet. Runs to the corner. They go 1-4 flat. But Banton's just kind of feeling it. Like, okay, look, I've got a matchup that I like.
See, that's what I want. He can develop all he wants this offseason. I just want to see him get his buckets now. Look, as good as he was in that feel and that alley-oop and, his creation that he can bring to the floor, the fourth quarter defense.
Things fell apart.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking like this guy's going to be a centerpiece for this organization, but you can't acknowledge when he plays well and does things well. We can also acknowledge that fourth quarter defense, he was spun around a few times. No. My wife, who knows very little about basketball, is like, what is number 5 doing on defense? And there were those times. And that wasn't the case in the first half.
Miscommunication and misunderstanding when they changed some coverages.
A lot of times down the floor, though, repeatedly. But in the first half, it wasn't that bad, and you got to give him credit for that as well.
And also, give credit to the Timberwolves because
he's being thrown to the Wolves.
Oh, no, he was. And that's what I'm saying. Like, being thrown to the Wolves and being this productive and actually looking this good for, like, long stretches. And again, this good is a sliding scale. It's like just good. He just looks good. It's like, okay, no, you look like a competent NBA role player. This is good. My God, the Timberwolves.
They're good, man.
They did the same thing to the Blazers they did to the Clippers the night before, where the night before they go on a 40-19 run against the Clippers. They went on an 18-4 run against the Trailblazers and just blew that game open. 12 of those points coming from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who hit 4 absolutely Unhinged threes.
Did not have him as the guy to sink the Blazers.
My God, I was talking to guys in the locker room after the game. They all kind of like, man, Nah just hit dumb shots. Like he hit a step back fadeaway into the corner over the top of Anthony Simons. Like nothing he got was easy, but none of them touched anything but the bottom of the net. And it's like, that's where you just kind of tip your cap to that team. And also Ant Edwards. There was one play all night.
They made 13 threes. 9 of them came from Alexander Walker and Edwards.
The play that every player was talking about from Edwards last night. And what's interesting enough, Tumani played with Ant in college. Tumani played at Georgia with Ant.
Really?
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, we knew back then he was that guy.
Bucket getter.
But the one play that had everybody in the locker room talking, there was a play that Edwards made, I want to say late in the third, on a drive where he hits a crossover or a little hang dribble hezzy in the paint at like 10 feet, goes from that into a between the legs cross, and then pulls the between the legs cross from his left hand immediately into a Euro step in the paint. So he got one guy with a hezzy to bite, got another guy with the right left cross to bite, and then the hezzy or the Euro froze Ayton and got him to jump early, and then he laid it up on the backside of it. And everybody in the locker room was like, that's not normal. You don't hit those moves in traffic in the paint.
Just nasty.
Like everybody like, that's the thing, like nobody's gonna watch. Like that's not the Sports Center highlight, but that was the one thing that everybody in the locker room was like, the thing that he did that caught everyone's like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And Tumani was like, yeah, he just does stuff like that, and he's just barely figuring it out.
He is wild card between the ears.
Yeah.
As is Karl Anthony Towns, which this is why we were talking about teams we trust. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
I don't trust them in the playoffs.
Talent is otherworldly.
It is completely out of this world. They've done a really good job
of talent acquisition. Yes.
Talent acquisition, but that's not championship level.
It's not championship DNA.
And that is where I have more faith in Oklahoma City because they're young, they're unproven in the playoffs too.
They don't do dumb stuff,
but they have it situated between the ears, and that's the most important part about winning basketball. And that's why, although this is a gutter of a season for the Blazers, I do believe though that if you look at what Joe Cronin has done in kind of building this roster, the mix of the vets to kind of bring those other guys along, with the exception of DeAndre Ayton, who's had his question marks between the ears in Phoenix. You look at guys like Jeremy Grant, like Malcolm Brogdon, even a Matisse Thybulle, right, who came from a winning culture and winning team. They have the vets to kind of bring some other guys along in that regard. And I like that. And you need that in a young team because it can go sideways if the blind's leading the blind in that.
No, God, yes.